Hi, this is Dave Bennett inside the Software Installer Tool, and it is October 8th, 2016. This video is going to cover my website list. So let's go ahead and go. Now, when you first get access to yours, you're not going to have any websites because the only websites you're going to see are the ones you put in there into your account. So you're going to have access to them. Okay, what are these again? These are all accounts where I had the Cpanel username and password, and so I was able to add that information in. For example, we can look at this first website here, 10-day fix. Okay, if I go to a separate tab and I go to 10dayfix.com and I do this, I put a /cpanel. Okay, that gets me to the Cpanel link, and here I need to know the username and the password. Okay, once I know those two things, I can log into the panel. And by logging into the panel, okay, there are a lot of things I could do. I could go to the files and change them, add to them, subtract them. I could go to the databases, add databases, subtract databases, database users, and so on. I can create subdomains and add those in. I can create email accounts and forwarders, things like that. Well, our tools do this stuff automatically, so you don't really have to log in and do this manually. Okay, there are a lot of things you can do inside the tool so much more efficiently than you can do inside the panel, and that's the purpose of the tool. So we need to add websites so that we can make changes to them. We can work with them outside of the tool. So how do we do that? We're going to add a new host. Okay, so first let me start by saying you can actually delete entries you have. Now I keep all of this stuff on a list. Okay, and I can batch upload the whole stack at once. So I'll even show you how that's done here in a minute. So I'm going to just start by deleting everything. Okay, I'm going to remove everything. It's all gone. Isn't that a trip? That's what, like 150 or something like that, websites that I just deleted. Okay, let's say we're going to add one. All right, well, what did we just create? We created moji-samples.com, right? And there's literally nothing on it yet. We want to start by doing something like putting a website on there, don't we? Then we can tweak the website, optimize the images and stuff, improve the page speed, enable browser caching and stuff like that. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to add a new host, and this is going to be it. Is it going to be a cPanel we're adding or a full-scale WHM server? Now, if we're going to add a server, see, because we've got a bunch of servers, and I can add a bunch of servers into this list. Okay, that way there are things that we can do with these tools that's just really, really cool to be able to do server-wide, all of the cPanels on the whole server all at one time. Like, show me all the zip files that are taking up space. If I'm doing it cPanel by cPanel, that's great. I can save people room on their cPanels. But if I can get access to a whole WHM server and go through all the cPanels at once, looking for zip files so I can see what they are and which ones are clearly outdated or unnecessary and they're just taking up space, I can just check mark them and say delete, and it'll go and delete them all. See, that's what this tool's for. Find zip files to delete. It'll delete them all wherever they are across all those servers in deeper level folders and everything else. And isn't that awesome? So I can just leave the ones I want to leave, delete the ones I want to delete, and recover, who knows, hundreds of megabytes, maybe a gig, maybe 3 gig or 5 gig or 10 gig in the process of just deleting old zip files that got uploaded that no one needs anymore. They're outdated. Okay, so we can add a whole server or a cPanel. The difference between the two really is when you add a server, okay, the username should be root. So make sure to put root here because this is the reality check. It would be root. Okay, and then otherwise we're going to add the password, and that's just whatever the password is. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to add the cPanel, and all we put is the base domain name. No http://www. None of that. Just the domain name. Do not put /cpanel on the end. There's no need. See, the system already assumes all that. Okay, so here we go. There it is. Now, what was the username again? Whatever the username was for the cPanel, right? And that means exactly, if I go here, I need to know the username and I need to know the password, right? Okay, so let me see if I remember what I put, because I put a temp password that I don't usually use for this account. Yep, added successfully, right? Okay. By the way, every time you see those little pop-ups and you see that OK button, hit your space bar, and that does the same thing. It's a shortcut. So sometimes you'll have a list of things and you'll have to delete one thing, and it'll give you a pop-up going, do you want to delete it? Yes or no. Hit the space bar with your other finger. And then it'll say, okay, it's deleted. And you can hit the space bar again to say, okay. So you can go delete, spacebar, spacebar, delete, spacebar, spacebar, delete, spacebar, spacebar. That way you don't have to go delete, click, click, delete, click, click. You can just leave your mouse right up here. Or I'm sorry, right down here on the delete button. All right, there you go. So now you know. Okay. You can add any cPanels, right? If you have access to them. Like what's that other one I had at the top of my list, right? So let me just do it real quick. Again, this process is pretty quick. There's the domain name. I'm copying from a file where I have all this stuff, right? And then the password. Okay, added successfully. Now, if I don't want to store this stuff, I can just select and delete, hit the spacebar, right? Or just select all, delete, hit the spacebar. Okay, there you go. Now, let's say I want to batch upload. Say I have a whole lot of these, all right? Let me just show you what now, see the download sample? I almost forgot to mention this. The download sample here is different than the download sample we had at setup cPanel accounts. Let me explain that real quick. Usually these things have their own sample for their own purpose, right? So now this says download sample for the tool we're on. This, if we're going to batch upload, okay, we got to download a sample Excel file. Okay, open it. Now you don't really have to download this every time. You know, if you just go ahead and save your lists, like you create some stuff and you just save it to a list, then you have it. Now, how do you add this stuff? You would put in, it says server, but it really means the top level domain of a cPanel. So put in that, all right? Put in the username, put in the password, okay? And then is it a cPanel or a WHM? Okay, next one down. What's the top level domain? The username. If it is a WHM, the username should be root. Okay, and then the password's whatever the password is. Okay, now you might say, why don't we force this to be root? And the answer is because it's true that some people do actually rename their root access. It's not usually advised, but guys who are advanced and they know exactly what they're doing, they have the ability to go in and do that. Okay, now let's say I have a much bigger file. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up real quick, show that to you. Okay, and here it is. So this is a batch of websites. I can have many of these saved, all right? And right now I've got, well, 129 in the stack, okay? So watch this. How do I add this whole thing? Well, I've already cleaned up this file. I've made sure everything else is deleted. There's no weird, invisible, or strange print or anything odd in here. Select the information. Click on the top, then scroll to the bottom. You know, if you need to, use this tab. And then shift click, hold down your shift key and hit click, right? To shift click to the bottom. And by doing that, I've got the whole thing selected. So I can copy it. I can come over here and I can paste it. Now, you don't have to paste this plain text. You can hit paste, just so you know. Unless you know, because this, you shouldn't have anything else in here. No macros, no strange images. You can hit paste as plain text if you want, just to be on the safe side. Now, what's the other way to do this? Well, very often, if your list is simple and clean like this is, it's a simple and clean list, okay? Don't let this fool you, this extension here. If I double click, okay, yeah, that's all inside the one cell. It is perfectly clean, okay? No strange nothing in here. It's a very simple file. It's a box, right? It's called an array because all of the data is filled out from one end here to the opposite end down here. That's called an array, A-R-R-A-Y. All right, so here we go. Now that I've explained that, I'm going to go ahead and continue with the process. So I'm going to, yeah, I've already got it copied, okay? I'm already going to paste it in. Okay, ready? Now we're going to hit process data. And now it's showing us a clean list that goes straight down to the bottom. All right, and that's a clean list. It ends at the bottom. So now I'm going to say add servers. And it's going to say, are you sure? Again, I can use my trusty spacebar. Okay, or just hit OK. Now this is moving along, and that's what this progress bar is all about. And it's literally checking that it's able to add these servers. Okay, that's exactly what it's doing. It's seeing if it can do it. Okay, so it's being careful to go through them and see what it can and can't add, right? And if there's anything that hangs it up because it's a bad login, then it might hold up the system because it's got to go a few at a time. And that's okay. We're just going to let it finish. And we can even export the non-permitted list. Whatever it says it wasn't able to connect to properly, we can export it. That way we can go double check those passwords so that we can straighten them out and add them in a second batch. And yes, you can just keep adding more, and it'll filter them all alphabetically and put them all into place. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this, let it finish doing the job, and then we'll come back and check it out. Okay, there we go. So it's finished, and all the green check marks are for things that it was able to resolve. The red ones, I had some duplicates in the list, and that's what was holding up the system, because one of these obviously cannot be right. You know, if they have the same username but two different passwords, for example, only one of the two can work. So it kept trying and trying and trying and trying, and then saying something like already exists or couldn't make it work, right? So if I go all the way up, okay, there you go. And so it's generally green, a couple of already exists, and like one or two big fat, hey, I can't connect to that one at all. Go back and check it because there's just no way. So I can export the non-permitted, and that'll just give me a file showing me the ones that were bad. Let me just go ahead and do it. Okay, and I can see my Excel's blinking. And I can say yes, I'm trying to open that file. And it's just got that one domain. Could be the domain expired, right? So there you have it. All right, so if it expired, the cPanel's gone, or if the guy actually changed his own password, then the one I have is outdated. Okay, there you go. So now I have my list. That way I can really understand what's going on with all my stuff, right? That's the idea. I know what is and isn't working right. So, okay, there you have it. And so let me just go ahead and close. And sure enough, here's my whole big list, and I can start doing stuff with all these websites to improve them. You know how many of these guys with websites could use optimized images, right? Maybe we should check page speed, right? Maybe we should do a backup of their website for them because they don't know how to make their backup system operate properly inside their cPanel. Okay, maybe we should go minifying a bunch of their files to make them load faster so Google likes them more. All right, maybe we should create a sitemap of their pages for them. Maybe we should submit the sitemap to send it to Google, Bing, Yahoo, and Ask all at once without having to create accounts. It's just going to ping them all. And it's going to create the robots.txt file on each of those websites. And that way, it's going to have a list of the sitemaps in there so that the incoming bots they can have a greater level of confidence that these are indeed the active actual sitemaps that we want. Okay, and that just helps boost the rank because it's one more signal we're giving Google that improves the algorithm score for those websites, saying, hey, this website is consciously doing its job. It knows what it's doing. Okay, we can optimize all the images. We can do copyscape checks. You can do that whether you add websites to the list or not. You can do images optimizing on any stack of images somebody gives you. So there are things that you can do in here. You can do page speed analysis on websites whether you have them in the list or not. You can even do them on competitive websites and compare them, right? So you can include some of these and some competitors of these guys so that you can compare, all right, just to see who's got the better page speeds, right, to see if it's a factor for them for ranking. Okay, there you go. So now you know how to add the websites in. So far we know how to create cPanels, if you ever do, and we know how to add websites into the list so we can use these tools on those websites. Okay.